Hi, David.
Hi Peter, how are you doing?
Excellent. How are you?
Good, good. I'm very well, thanks. So, you've had a couple of days now to practice, but I've heard it's not been plain sailing because you've had some hardware issues.
Yeah, some hardware issues that fortunately got sorted out fairly quickly. And mostly, other than that, frustration because trying to learn this new technique, um, I guess it just takes time and getting used to. And what's most frustrating is that each time I go into a slide, I'm losing like a if I'm lucky, half a second, and most of the times a full second by the end of the straight.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's a little bit demotivating. And I don't know. I mean, looking at the times I managed last night to put in a new fastest lap, but if you look at the history, it was some sessions were really bad. I was
yeah,
pretty far off my previous best. And even if I was somewhat closer, then the average was not that bad. Lots of off tracks and whatnot.
sure.
Uh, yeah, I messaged you and you said, well, just put in a few clean laps. So I decided, okay, I'll stop trying to go faster. And I did just time trial. I did a race. So yeah, I realized I'm not that bad after all.
Yeah,
It's just all relative to like the goals or expectations. I said to myself.
yeah.
So I don't know. So the difficulty I had, I did what you suggested. I did a 30 minutes on the centripetal circuit,
Uh-huh.
um, and I mean, I it helped in the sense that I know. I mean, I could again practice just this like moving the weight forward and back, how it helps the steering.
Mhm.
But I guess I can do it without spinning if it's very mild
Yeah,
inputs.
yeah.
The moment I try to just be brake
Aggressive.
harder and then turn, then I spin right away
Yeah.
or go into a massive slide.
Okay.
So maybe I'm just overdoing it.
Maybe.
Another thing that surprised me was, I look at the telemetry after every session, and
Mhm.
I think I'm doing one thing, but then looking at the telemetry, it looks like I'm doing completely different things. So looking at the charts and imagining what I need to do,
Yeah.
um, it's different. It's wrong. Like, so it means I don't really
Mm.
have a very good understanding of what I'm doing and how it translates.
Yeah.
I mean, how it looks like on the telemetry.
That's
Uh,
something that will come with experience and practice, and over time when you do check, you know, you'll be surprised at first, but then after a while you'll start to know what to expect.
mhm.
But overall, I think you're being a little bit hard on yourself.
Okay.
I think it's perfectly normal to struggle with what is quite a significant technique change.
Hmm.
It's like playing the guitar and adjusting entirely how you hold the
Hmm.
pick. So
Hmm.
it's going to take a long time to sort of readjust and then profit from the
Hmm.
see the benefits of that change. Um,
Hmm.
I would say I'm quite impressed with what I. So initially, again, like yourself, I was a little bit unsure when I looked at your sessions. I saw you've done quite a few sessions here. You've been practicing very hard, and
Yeah.
a lot of them are slower than previous ones.
Hmm.
But I had a look deeper into your telemetry on your most recent session, and even if it feels like you're kind of just trying to get in some good laps for this session now, I can clearly see that you've implemented a lot of what we discussed. So I'm quite keen on showing you that.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to see that.
And also I had a look at your. I think we've got a new feature. This is the first time I've seen this view in iRacing button.
Right. Yeah, that's new. I think this week.
That's pretty cool. So I had a look at your recent race, which you won. So
Yeah.
and you started from P2. So you definitely need a pat on the back for that. That's
Yeah.
good
Thank
effort
you.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've done, considering it's as we said, such a major technique change, and you've sort of had to experiment a little bit. I think you've done a pretty good job, about
All
as
right.
good as
Thank
could
you.
be expected by anyone. So.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so what I've actually had a look at then is again the comparison of your most recent time trial session where you've gone
Mm-hmm.
only about half a tenth quicker than
Mm-hmm.
your previous best, but
Yeah.
as I said, there's significant differences in how you've achieved that time,
Okay.
which is not immediately obvious when you compare against Marty.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
what I've done is I've also loaded up a comparison between
Mm-hmm.
your original
Okay.
fastest from the last session, and it's
Right.
really, really interesting to see the differences there.
Okay.
So if you'd like, we can go through Marty's quickly.
Yeah, whatever you think makes the most sense.
Okay, well, we'll just skim through this fairly quickly. We can see that in most of the sectors you're very, very evenly matched, and you're quicker significantly in sector 3, which is the hairpin at the end, the keyhole corner, I believe it's called.
Mm-hmm.
But you lose a lot of time in sector 4 and 7.
Yeah.
Um,
And to be honest, I never really focused on those two because whenever I looked at my averages, comparing average versus Marty's fastest, like 2, 3, and 8 were the ones where I'm the least consistent,
oh,
which is
okay.
why I mostly focused on them.
Okay, that's fair enough. So you've obviously done a very good job on this particular lap. So with your average lap, are you getting a lot closer in sector 4 and 7 then?
On average, I guess I'm more consistent,
Okay.
and I'm more inconsistent in the first 2 turns.
Okay.
There's a bigger variance in just my own laps.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one I guess I just nailed it for the fastest lap.
Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, if I do actually have a look at this first corner, then I can see that you are much later on the brakes. You carry a lot more speed in, and it's quite a high-speed corner. So that indicates to me that you're starting to grow in confidence a little bit more, or you're willing to take more risks, especially in a time trial session where you need to be consistent and incident-free. So that's good to see. And you've actually beaten Marty quite significantly on corner entry, which is the area that we've been looking at. So I would say good job there. You've lost a little bit of time on the exit, but it's minor. I think that's just because you're carrying a little bit too much, a little bit more speed than you're comfortable with, and you're just understeering. We can see that you're turning the wheel more on the exit than Marty is, so you're just suffering from a little bit more understeer, and that's why you're...
So something I tried to change here was I used to just stare at my braking marks, and then I would not be looking at the apex, and now completely miss the apex. So
Yeah.
I try to sort of just I look at the brake marker, and then I turn my I look towards the apex, and then I sort of just know roughly when I need to hit the brakes. Because even with my peripheral, I don't really see those markers very well. So I pretty much I need to know, okay, I need to start turning just a little bit, and then a few moments later I need to tap the brakes some. Which is probably why I also am braking later. I think I was matching his brake point earlier.
Well, that's certainly a better way to drive, and that is certainly something that I've been taught myself when I've had racing lessons. Is to try and look as far ahead down the road as you can. So look into the apex before you arrive at the corner. Don't get worked up on focusing on your reference point, because a lot of the time the reference point isn't where you need to be going. So I mean, what I tend to do is I tend to sort of look at the apex as I'm approaching the braking zone. Sometimes if I've got a really critical reference that I need to see, then I'll glance at the reference, but then as soon as I've glanced at it, I'll look back to the apex.
Hmm.
So as long as the majority of your focus is on the apex, then
It just, I don't know if it's just me or I need to just train awareness based on my peripheral vision. But I mean, I just see some like signs passing by, but I can't really make out which one is which.
mm.
So how do you, I mean, how do you actually use the reference points if, for me, I'm not really, I don't think I'm perceiving them with enough detail to really know when I should be
Okay, well,
hitting those
what I tend
marks.
to do if I'm struggling with a reference, so for example, a bit later on this lap, I can show you
Mm-hmm.
a breaking point that I've sort of struggled with in the past.
Uh-huh.
It's this one at the end of, so
Right.
you've just exited the keyhole and you're now at the end of
Yeah.
the middle straight.
Mm-hmm.
You've got some brake markers to your left here.
Yeah.
Now, what I found I had to do, because I wasn't able to do my normal thing of looking into the apex, I was being too inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are lines across the track which are useful, but I was getting mixed
Mm-hmm.
up between which ones
Right.
to brake at. So what I found helped me was to basically watch a replay in slow motion
Mm-hmm.
and to really take a lot of detail
Mm-hmm.
in terms of which of the braking markers I need to brake at or the
Mm-hmm.
closest to, and
Mm-hmm.
then really get that in my mind so that I don't really have to worry about it too much, because it's
Mm-hmm.
I've already got quite a strong memory of it in my head,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
So are you still looking towards the apex while trying to sort of visualize where you should be braking? Like, is the focus on the brake markers or?
So what I normally do approaching this one is, as I'm approaching the braking zone, I
Uh-huh.
glance over to the left to
Okay.
check which marker I'm getting near towards,
Mm-hmm.
and then before I've started braking, I'm looking back at the apex.
Mm-hmm.
So
So you sort of know in your mind, I glance at it when I'm here, I need to move your eyesight in this direction, then
even though I've
so
looked
many
away from
moments
it, it's
after.
still in my peripheral, if
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, it's something I need to maybe just practice awareness, because same thing with last week, Ren said, pay attention to the sound of the tires. And I mean, it's not something that I try to just pay attention to and notice that the sound is there. And now I'm trying to pay more attention. So maybe it's just
Yeah.
a
Okay.
issue of just an awareness or just practice.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, you can't sort of overload the issue. You have to. I would say limit yourself to two
mhm,
key thoughts to focus on.
mhm,
Otherwise, you're gonna
right.
overload your brain a little bit. But yeah,
Mhm.
Renz is dead right. That is certainly something that you need to
Yeah. No, I'm
gain
just saying
awareness
as
of.
an example, something that
Yeah.
is there, I'm just not aware or paying attention to it. So
Oh, okay.
I guess it's something I could practice, just extracting more information from peripheral vision rather than just what I'm looking
Yeah.
at.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. So this was at sector 4. While we're actually on here,
Mm-hmm.
this was actually one of your slower sectors.
Mm-hmm.
And the main reason for this, if we just have a look through,
Mm-hmm.
we can see that initially you're not quite braking hard enough,
Mm-hmm.
which is also why this
Mm-hmm.
area is shaded.
Yeah.
And then you kind of you sort of realise that you're not quite slowing the car down fast enough, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a region here where
Yeah.
you're having to continue to brake very hard
Yeah.
whilst Marty's coming off.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's okay. That's like a compensation that you've made,
Mm-hmm.
which is okay. I mean, you've sort of recovered the situation. In fact, up until this point, you've recovered the situation quite
Right.
nicely.
Yeah.
But then I'm afraid you lose it again from here onwards, simply
Mm-hmm.
because you're not on the power early enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you're on a fairly tight line here.
Mhm.
At this point, you're starting to run a little bit wider than Marty, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. You're still
Mhm.
going to make it round. If I then play this through,
Yeah.
we can see how much tighter you
Yeah.
force yourself to be. You don't
Yeah.
need to be that tight. Basically, you can you could allow the car to remain a little bit wide, a little bit wide, and then finally get back to where Martti is here, and you would have you would have remained pretty close to him, and you would have stayed quite close to him. So, and that's actually a very similar situation in Sector 7. So Sector 7, you're not too far away from Martti, and this was interesting actually. So this is a corner where we looked at in our last session as you losing a lot of time on the entry. Now it still appears that that's a problem for you, but in a minute we'll have a look at the comparison between your last session, and we'll actually see that you've made big gains in this area. Where you've lost out this time is again exactly the same as we just looked at. You're too cautious on the exit. So you are slightly wide compared to Martti at the apex. So we can see here you're a little bit wide. But then you overcompensate massively, and you wait. Only now are you on full throttle, way after, and we can see how much that's lost you. Quite over 1/10 of a second. So so again, that's a pretty easy one to fix.
Just use more of the track on exit.
And don't. The focus isn't to think, right, I need to use more of the track on the exit. The focus is, I need to get on the power sooner. And then that's, as a side effect, it's going to force you to use more of the track on the exit because you're carrying more speed. So, I'm now going to switch to the comparison between your last session. And this may surprise you if you haven't looked at it before.
No, I haven't.
Okay. So we're going to have a look at turn 1 first, and we will immediately see this. Now we looked at this. This was something that we emphasized. The middle of the braking zone to the apex was an area where you were significantly slower than Martti. But if we look at this, this is a massive improvement. From here to here, you're carrying way more speed than you were previously. So you've definitely applied exactly what we discussed. So I couldn't really ask for more.
In terms of time, it's not that much, but I guess if I could do it over the entire track, it would add up.
Yes. You've lost a little bit of time on the exit as a result of maybe being conscious of trying to carry a bit more speed here. I mean, I did say in the previous session that when you're sort of applying a new technique, the other areas of your driving will suffer, at least in the short term, because your focus is being taken away from the rest of your driving and is now on something else. So obviously the things that you would normally do are going to suffer slightly. So this is just going to take a bit of time. So I certainly wouldn't beat yourself up. The fact that you're already faster is, I think, very good. I think a lot of people would take at least a week or so to, because it almost requires a rewiring of the neurons in your brain to get it to a point where you're not thinking about it. At the moment, you're probably still having to think about it consciously. You want to get to an eventual stage where it's automatic for you. And only at that stage are you going to really see the benefit.
I see.
Okay, so Sector 3, Turn 2, we see a massive improvement, over 1/10 of a second. And if we have a look here, one of the things that we talked about was how you need to let the car run wider mid-corner and then cut back for a tighter exit. Now you have done this, still not quite as well as Martti has done. We can see that you are tighter on the exit, but it's very minor. On Martti's lap, from memory, he's a little bit wider at this point. So you've got the right idea, but you just need to carry a bit more speed into the middle of the corner. and then you'll have to be a bit slower around here. So your speed is going to dip slightly more here, but then you'll be able to accelerate a little bit earlier. But overall, compared to the previous session, you've got a really, really nice exit, which has gained you lots of time.
Yeah.
So that's good to see.
And here's something that, in terms of technique, that I realized. I'm hard on the brakes initially, then I lift off a little bit, I turn in, and then I straighten out the wheel some and apply more brake pressure. That's what I figure out I can do and not lose the car. So I don't know if that's, you see how, you see how I...
So I would...
Is that, I mean, is that a good technique or not?
In the short term, maybe, but in the long term, no. I would say, if you really want to get to the top level, it's probably not going to help. A better way would be to combine this braking into one, and then if you are struggling with the balance of the car at this point, and it's kind of turning in a bit too aggressively, if you just kind of breathe on the throttle. So instead of having a lift, just breathe on the throttle. You're going to burn a bit more fuel. But if you're going for a fast lap time, then it's going to benefit you. I would say I've noticed that you are having these little breaths on the throttle, which is good to see. So you are trying to implement it. So it's good to see. But the fact that you've come out the brake so much indicates to me that you could probably achieve a similar thing just by braking later and combining it all into one. And if you do suffer from oversteer, then you can arrest that with some throttle. Yeah.
So I don't know, it feels like the car goes into a slide very quickly, and maybe I just need to develop more sensitivity to when this starts. But I feel like whenever I try to apply the throttle, it's already too late. I can't even on the when I practice just that. Do you have any tips on that? Is it about how do I catch it early enough?
Well, the problem is the conscious part of your brain reacts slower than the subconscious part of your brain. So until you've built up that muscle memory, you're always going to be a bit too slow. So, and unfortunately, the only way that you can get around that and overcome that is by repetition.
Okay.
So I'm afraid that there's no easy solution.
Right.
Okay, so let's just have a look at Sector 4 then. So we can see Sector 4, we know that you broke a little bit later, especially a lot later than Martti, and we can see that you broke later than your previous lap. We can also see that compared to your previous lap, you're having to brake more here. This could be just on this particular lap, but we can also see that even compared to your previous session, you're still too late onto the power. So this is definitely an area where you can find half a tenth or to a tenth easily. Just have a reminder in your head as you approach this section that I need to get out of this corner early on the throttle. That needs to be your sort of key thought. I'm going to jump straight to Sector 7 because I want to show you something that I thought was quite significant. So this was a corner where, let's just load it on here as well, we already have it loaded. So compared to Martti, again, you're giving up a little bit of time on the entry, still overslowing the car slightly compared to him. But the thing is, when we compare it to your last session, we can see that you have actually made an improvement. So you are actually carrying more speed in here, which is good. What we also see is that you lose a lot of time on the exit, and overall you're actually slower. But I'm pleased to say that there's a very easy solution to that. Exactly the same as the exit of Sector 4. You just need to be a bit more confident in getting on the power. The car is going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
If we just have a look, and we can see that by your line. So you are a little bit wide of the
Mm-hmm.
ideal apex, and I think that's what's
Yeah.
sort of encouraged you into waiting.
Yeah.
You sort of felt, oh no, I'm running too wide. I'm going to have to wait forever to get back on
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
throttle to get it back to where I need to be. But
Mm-hmm.
in reality, if you just committed and just
Mm-hmm.
said, right, I'm going to be okay here,
Okay.
and you held it on the power,
Mm-hmm.
you'd probably be all right.
Yeah.
Because if we see on the exit, look how much narrower you are
Mm-hmm.
on the exit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you could have,
That's a couple of meters at least.
yeah. So that's where a lot of that time has gone. So there's two
Yeah.
very very easy areas on this particular lap where
Mm-hmm.
where you can maintain what you've learned with your new technique and
Mm-hmm.
just get on the power a bit sooner,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to find 1 or 2 tenths easily. So
Okay. Okay. Cool. So, how shall I continue practice? I probably have today for practicing, and I'll probably do races on Saturday and Sunday.
okay.
So I guess I shouldn't really try to do anything different in terms of mid corner, or should I? I mean, should I just focus on those two opportunities that you identified because they're easy?
Yeah,
Um,
I at this phase I would be against introducing new ideas.
mhm.
The only thing that I would say, because it's such an easy fix, it's not something
Mhm.
that is going to take a lot of difficulty to correct, is to
Mhm.
on the exit of these two corners is to get on the
Okay.
power sooner.
Okay.
Just to trust that you're probably going to have enough room on the exit.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
So more hot laps practice today, and then just do racing tomorrow.
yeah, I would say
Okay.
that the practice regime that you've got at the moment is pretty much bang on, and
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to say how you could. I know certainly when I was at this level, the gain that you've made is certainly no slower than I would have made. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely good to see.
Yeah. Good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, you've done a good job.
Thanks.
So have you got any other sort of questions
Um,
in regards?
no, I think I asked everything. I'll pay more attention to just try to extract more information from my peripheral vision
Yeah.
for the markers, and I'll uh, try to be on the throttle earlier on those two turns, and yeah, let's see how that goes.
Okay. Um, Before we finish up, I've noticed this here. There's a few different changes in the setup.
Oh, it's actually wrong.
Yeah, I was
Uh,
wondering that.
yeah, the only variables are I think fuel level, starting fuel level, and they're not this. If you show all properties, you see that the only things that you can actually change in the garage did not change.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, anti-roll bar, fuel level. It's an issue with iRacing. It essentially gives those measurements when the car is on track, and not when the
Oh,
car
okay.
is in the garage. And the this car geometry is different based on where you
Oh
take the
no.
snapshot, essentially.
Oh right.
So I think they'll have it fixed in the next build. But
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
the things that you can tune in the garage, they're constant, and the rest is just the side effect of this dump being made while the car is on track. So yeah, I didn't change the setup.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Yeah, I mean, I saw that the names of the setups were
Yeah,
identical, so
yeah,
I presume that was
yeah, yeah.
something
No, I mean,
something else.
I've decided, I know from Marty that the skip is fairly basic and there isn't too much you can do on the setup anyway.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I've decided to not even, I'm even practicing with race fuel because I don't want to forget to add fuel before the race. It
I've done that.
happens. Yeah. So for now, I just don't want to be thinking about the
Yeah.
setups, and I guess it won't be a big difference in lap times anyway.
No,
An
it's
extra
it's
gallon.
literally it's probably a few hundredths,
Hmm.
maybe a tenth at
Hmm.
most.
Okay. So yeah, I just figured it's not worth it, and yeah.
Cool. So is there anything else you'd like to ask or?
No, that's all. Thanks, David. Really helpful. I'll do some more practice, and I'll let you know how it goes over the weekend.
Okay, good luck. All the best.
All right. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.